Good morning, everybody. This your boy D Mac, man. I'm sorry for the being behind schedule a little bit. I got caught up in some things that I was researching. Hey, my brother, let me see if I put this thing in this Dropbox. How I'm supposed to do this? Go to banners. I want to add this banner. All right, hold up. How I put this thing in the Dropbox because what I want to be talking about today, we're going to go back in depth with the covert militarization of the police forces in the United States, and I have one of my brothers who want to come on and speak about this thing, man, and let me get this thing going and get him in here. Um, let's see. Okay, there we go. Is that it? Is that how you do it? Bro, I guess I'm trying to figure out how to put this link in here so you can come in and we can chop it up on this thing. But that's the link for this show, man. You can come in, I guess, through there. But I was chopping it up with your crazy cousin. That's who I'm referring to right now. And he has a military background, and so he wanted to come in and definitely give his mind and his view. Oh yeah, there we go. There we go. Okay, add to stream. Hey, you in here, my brother?
Yeah, good morning, brother. How you doing?
Good morning. Good morning. There we go. There we go, man. You gotta forgive me, man. I ain't that computer literate, but I'll figure it out.
It's all good. It's all good. We're here.
Oh yeah. But yeah, so what I was talking about the other day, and I didn't really get into it too good because I was walking and talking at the same time. And I was talking about how when I was in the military, man, and we was downrange, a lot of the reserve and National Guard soldiers were police officers, and they would come and they would get all of this training, the same basic training and AIT and all of that stuff, deployed, and then they come right back to them jobs. And people don't think that they bring in those tactics and those maneuvers and that military knowledge to their police force, and they getting the weaponry to go along with it. But people are still in denial that we have a militarized police force, man. So I just want to get your view of what's going on with this.
All right. Well, I can tell you, I served from 1980 to 1987,
Uh-huh.
and you could find police in the Army Reserve, National Guard back then. So they've always had access to that training. However, it was not until the Obama administration where the weaponry started really coming into play. And but you got to look at the incremental way we got here, because this has been a long time in the making. This did not just happen overnight.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah, I can agree with that because you said the Obama era, and when I deployed, it was in 2010, 2011, the Obama era. And so a lot of the things that I saw taking place was absolutely during that time frame. So you're absolutely right on that, brother.
that's when they started handing out a lot of the surplus equipment to the police departments. And the thing is, and I'm a big advocate of the Second Amendment.
Uh huh.
And one thing I got bamboozled on, and I will admit to being bamboozled, is when I believe it was the mid '90s when there was this legislation debate about outlawing what they call cop killer bullets,
Yeah, I remember that.
armor piercing rounds for civilian use. And of course, as a what I thought I was a common sense thinking citizen, like who would need that? Even though I'm a big Second Amendment guy, I'm like, what use does a civilian have for armor piercing rounds? But
Yeah,
at that time, the police weren't driving down your street in armored vehicles.
exactly. Yep.
Now they are.
So man, it seemed to me like the forefathers had some foresight into this, and that's why they put that into place, because they knew at some point we was gonna have somebody in office that was not going to honor what this democracy was supposed to stand for, and they were going to try to create a dictatorship here, man. And the Second Amendment was so that we would be able to have the type of weaponry that would at least give us a fighting chance against a military unit or something, because they got some heavy stuff. I mean, let's be honest. If I have just a 45 and my 38 revolver going up against M4 and all of the other weaponry that the military got, it wouldn't be long before I fail.
It,
And that was the whole point of it. But people, and now it seems like the military side of it, though, they are using that same logic to reinforce why they're getting all of this military stuff. I heard one of them say this morning, he was like, well, it's really making a difference when we go into these hostile communities and they see, and it's overwhelming to them, and we arrest them with no problem. That's a lie, because you are killing them. You're not arresting them. Not in our communities, you aren't. Now you can go and get this guy who killed these people at the parade the other day, and you can arrest him without any hiccups. But when it comes to our people, no matter what the situation, the circumstances in, we have a 95% chance of turning up dead in the situation.
well, this is going to be what I'm about to say is an opinion, and it's an opinion based upon observation. Our people are rebellious. We don't lay down easily. Would you
Yeah,
agree to that?
I can't agree with that. Yes.
Now, I want you to think back to the aftermath of the Boston Marathon bombing and the Boston lockdown, how that was televised on national news and all the imagery that came from that. And armed police going into white people's homes and searching without warrants, and white people just saying, okay, go ahead, have at it, violate my rights.
Yeah. Yeah, that's that fear tactic, and it's starting to be so evident. Though you can see the plan, they don't even bother to hide what they're doing no more, because people have just become so conditioned to just give over their freedoms for a peace of mind, and the peace of mind that they're getting is wrapped in the fabrication, because we don't have the security that America claims that we have as a country. As tight as they claim that our security is as a country, and how they'll be able to defend us if something was to take place, a lot of that is exaggeration.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
but they will pay and they will give up their freedom just to have that false sense of security, and it's just destroying the infrastructure of this country, because it's allowing those who's supposed to be serving us to now be lazy because we buy into these lies and stuff. And so I guess that's why I'm always trying to challenge this stuff, man, and just bring attention to these certain things, because it's like we love to sleep a lot of the times, and stuff happening right in our face, and we ain't saying nothing.
Well, it's because a lot of it has to do with our public school indoctrination. That
Yeah,
has a lot to do with it. We are indoctrinated from kindergarten on for 12 years, 13 years, if you include kindergarten, 13 years of complete indoctrination. And they're at a point now where they want to start this indoctrination as young as 3 years old.
yes, absolutely.
And that's how we get here. Now, you served, you're a veteran, I'm a veteran. I know veterans that will. I saw your video earlier. You had your flag upside down, a
Yeah,
sign it's a country in distress. But be a lot of people, some veterans out there that would say you're disrespecting the flag and the people who fought and died for it. You see how
Oh,
that goes?
oh, there has been. Believe me, I gotten a lot of feedback on that.
Okay. But here's the thing, desecrating that flag is a constitutionally protected right. I know of no veteran that swore an oath to protect and defend the flag of the United States of America. Only the Constitution. The Constitution and the flag are two different things, but they will fight you for that flag.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And in the process, they trample the Constitution. You see how that works?
Yep. And that's my whole problem with it is the way that they will paint a narrative. I've seen time and time again where they totally went against the Constitution and they've made these loopholes which they call amendments, and just totally manipulated the whole document. So what good is it at this point?
I can agree with you to a degree on that statement. I mean, we do have the 14th Amendment, right? And this is kind of weird because I had this conversation with my wife a couple of days ago. We were discussing, Roe v. Wade being overturned and everybody all upset.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of black folks that's all upset over
Yeah.
Roe v. Wade being overturned. The one case that the Supreme Court never overturned was the Dred Scott decision, where they ruled that a black man has no rights and a white man is bound to recognize. They
Wow.
never overturned that case.
Wow.
Now, some will argue that the 14th Amendment by default overruled that Supreme Court ruling, but did you see any evidence of that? If it actually overruled that Supreme Court decision, there'd be no need for a Civil Rights Act of 1964.
Exactly. And see, they have these principles, these um law principles. They're not actual laws themselves. These are just principles that are based on the popular opinion of society, and they use these to dictate different decisions that they make within the judicial system. And so they're basing a lot of this stuff on what the response of society is going to be, and using that to determine the outcome of a lot of situations has really put a big wedge between the American people and the government. Because no matter what judgment you make, you're going to disappoint somebody. So you have to be able to be willing to accept that. And a lot
And
of times our judges are not willing to accept that, and they try to appease everybody, and in doing so they just make it worse.
they do, and they make it worse. But you got to look at how they get us here, one of the best tactics they use to get us to this point is Grand Rising Clean Black Sneakers. One of the tactics they use to get us to this point is to get us to volunteer for it.
Yep, yep, absolutely.
You know, um, every time there's a mass shooting, there's a call to ban assault rifles, right?
Yep.
The assault rifle is your best defense if you decide to rise up and throw off this government, which was stated. This is where the Second Amendment is rooted, actually, in the Declaration of Independence, where they say it is the duty of citizens to throw off an oppressive government. You cannot throw off an oppressive government with inadequate firepower.
Exactly. And so when I look at what's going on now, I wanted to kind of go back a little bit to Roe versus Wade. That also is going to open. I did a show about this before. In my mind, in my opinion, I feel like this opens the door to eugenics again. And this is going to allow different states and different government entities to be able to control population through using Planned Parenthood, like Margaret Sanger tried to do back in the day. So All of this fear that's being drummed up is all done by design to get people to give over their freedoms for peace of mind once again. All of this comes back to the fear to keep control in the United States. And so the militarized police force, that's exactly what it is, because that militarized police force is not for white people, let's be honest. It's not to intimidate white people, it's to give white people peace of mind. And it
Okay.
is to cause everybody else, the brown and the black people, to be at fear, to be in fear, and to be intimidated. And so, we just got to call it for what it is. They don't want to say it in so many words, but we all know what it is.
Let me go back to the Roe v. Wade thing, and just for clarity, you think, if I understand you correctly, the Supreme Court overturning this decision would open the door for the eugenics people?
Yes.
Uh, I'm not sure about that. I'm going to disagree with you at this point on that, and
Mhm.
let me explain to you why.
Okay.
The eugenics thing really got kicked off in this country in the 30s, like the 20s and the 30s.
Yeah.
They were able to get legislation passed and upheld by the Supreme Court that led to the forced sterilization of women. And when those laws were finally overturned, I believe it was in the mid to late 1950s,
Yeah.
the eugenics crowd had to go back and regroup. How do we, now that it's illegal for us to forcibly sterilize a woman, how do we go back and reclaim this ground? And the idea came out to be, let's get women to volunteer for it. And that's how you got to the original Roe v. Wade case to begin with. It was all about convincing women to volunteer for it. Now, what by the Supreme Court overturning this, they're saying now the states have the right to decide whether it's legal in their state or not, and that takes away in some states a woman's option to volunteer for it.
Yeah, it does. But on the flip side of it, it also opens them up to desperate measures.
That is true.
And in desperate measures, people are going to do some crazy things. I feel like the black market is going to be flooded with babies that's unwanted. I feel like there's so many different revenue streams that are going to be created off of this heinous, just evil stuff. We already know the world is evil by the babies that are being, you know, assaulted and murdered and just done without any disregard nowadays. So this is going to open up the world to so many more unwanted babies to be done in so many bad ways. And somebody is going to figure out a way to monetize this industry, like the like same thing with the human trafficking thing, baby trafficking. I just feel like it's just going to open up so many bad doors.
Right.
And that's why I allude to the eugenics thing, because somebody is going to find a way to monetize this thing and make money
So
off of it. But
market is already there. The market has already been set up and established. It'll just go underground because from aborted fetuses, they're harvesting the stem cells and things like that. We already know this. So
yeah,
yeah, there'll be backroom abortions, and there'll be a black market for stem cells and other material from the fetus. And of course, there'll be the black market trade of unwanted babies, and a lot of them sold into sex slaves to be sex slaves and whatever else.
yeah, and then it also opens up. You can have a state that sets a criteria for abortion to be something that disqualifies a certain type of people, and that's where I allude to the eugenics thing being opened back up. Because if you give this person control to set a criteria for abortion in that state, then there's some people who are going to be xed out of that, and they don't have any other choice but to get rid of their baby, or as opposed to another group who wants to preserve their kind because they feel like their kind is disappearing, and then they can use that avenue to be able to practice that. That's where I allude to the eugenics part.
Oh yes, of course, because the eugenics is there. That's where this whole issue is born from. The eugenics. community. And
Yeah,
matter of fact, a lot of modern day policy outside of eugenics directly, when we get to the environmental aspect of things and climate change and a host of other modern day issues, is they're all lead back to the eugenics and population control.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and so that's why I put that in there. It's just something that came up to me when I be talking to a couple of young brothers, man. I like to tap in with these young guys and see what they really thinking about and what they're seeing from their perspective out here in the world. Because the circles that they be in and the things that they be getting into out here in the world is different than me. I'm retired. I'm laid back. I ain't really out there pushing as much as they are, but they're interacting out here in this world, and I really use them as a gauge to keep me knowledgeable about how people are really thinking out there in the streets, as opposed to the sound bites that we hear and the narratives that we get from media and stuff like that. I want to know what people really thinking. And so these brothers just be putting me up on it, man, and they're like, we see what's going on and we understand what's going on as the youth is coming up, and they on some show me stuff. They don't want to hear no more words. They're like, man, I'm tired of hearing all of the words. We know what the problems are. We ready for some action, and they just looking for somebody to lead them into action. But I'm like, man, y'all gotta be the leaders. It's y'all time now. It's we brought you up to this point just like our generation before us brought us up to the point we were. And we took the baton and we brought it to here. So now it's y'all turn. And so, these guys, a lot more of these kids are aware of the things that's going on in government than they care to talk about. But I just try to put stuff out here, man, to keep them aware, man, and have these conversations, because they don't know nothing about militarized police force. When they think of military police, they think of MPs. They don't think nothing else into it. But having these conversations with them, man, it opened up their thought, and I don't know, something might come out of it.
Yeah, there's a lot I can say on that. Well, for clarity on the abortion issue, so for anybody that's listening or cares, for clarity, my personal opinion is I am dead set against abortion under any circumstance. However, I do not believe I have the right to enforce my beliefs on anyone.
Yeah, yeah. I,
Period.
I feel like I don't condone abortion either, but some situations I do understand. I heard there was a situation that took place where this girl, she got assaulted by someone, forced by someone, and she was forced to have that baby because that man was set against her having an abortion. Now, situation like that, I feel like that's a slippery slope right there.
It is.
Because forcing someone to live with a traumatic thing for the rest of their life is that really for us to make a judgment on?
Well, like I said, I won't force my belief on anyone. But if someone in that situation were to come and seek my advice, I would ask them first where they stand with whatever it is God they believe in.
Yes, got
And
you.
do you feel this is God's will? If you do, then there's your answer. If you don't, there's your answer.
Yeah, I can definitely see that, because I will always give God the last say in everything. We're always gonna say our side, and then the other person say their side, but ultimately it's what Yahweh say. And as respect to anybody's belief, whatever your higher power is, that's the last say in your decision. It should be. If you don't believe in anything, then oh well, you're just gonna go with your gut or with what your heart tells you. But
Exactly. And that's where I am on those types of situations. Now, to add to that, personally, and I've done this my entire adult life. When I Even when I was single and out there running the streets and playing around, and doing that dirty, like we used to do when we were young men.
Yeah, for sure.
But I'd always question. I've always been in political issues. I would always question the women that I had an interest in, and I would
Hmm.
bring them to that issue. And if they were pro-abortion, I don't lay down with them. Period. I
Yes.
never ever laid down with a woman that was pro-abortion.
But a lot of men don't carry that mindset, bro. They really don't, man. And I was thinking about that the other day too. And I was like, you know, if we really, really took the time to get to know a person. No, no, no. I was saying pre-orgasm thoughts versus post-orgasm thoughts. If we thought pre-orgasm the way we did post-orgasm, a lot of females we would not even approach. You know, and how we buy into a lot of things because it's to get what we want, and we won't even consider the most important things that we need to be asking and the most important questions we need to be asking, because our physical desires are overshadowing that stuff. And a lot of times we mess around and sleep with a female, and then afterwards we find out that was one of the worst decisions we ever made. So I'm glad you said that because that confirms something I was talking about before. But yeah, you're absolutely right. You have to be able to ask those questions to a person because you're making a life-changing decision. If you sleep with somebody and y'all, even if you have protection on and it break, and she happens to get pregnant, y'all have a life-changing decision to make right there. And so you got to know what a person stands for before you put yourself in a situation. So
Yeah.
yeah, I agree with that 100%, man. And I feel like if these brothers out here really considered that, then a lot of babies wouldn't be here right now.
Well, and on this topic, let's not get distracted and misguided by the terminology. In modern era, we call it, sex. We call it effing, getting some, busting a nut, however you want to put it. What it is actually is mating. And the sole purpose of mating is to reproduce. So if you're not ready to either terminate that life that's growing inside of you if you're a woman, or you're not ready for as much as 24 years of child support as a man, keep it to yourself.
You know, I often tell this story, man, about when I was down range, and one of the cultures that we were around, the guys would tell us that they use their women for procreation and they use men for recreation. And so they had a determination between what type of sex they would have with their wife. They would only have sex with their wife to make a baby. And they would go out and have, like, if they wanted to just bust a nut and just have fun and fulfill a kinky desire, they went out and found either a young boy or a young girl to do that with. That was their culture. It wasn't frowned upon. It wasn't looked at as indecent or nothing. That was just the way their culture was. And man, I started to think about that because, we have recreationalized sex in this country so much. Nobody puts the focus on procreation no more. The only time that comes up is child support or this Roe v. Wade stuff. That's the only time you really get into talking about sex as procreation and stuff. But anytime otherwise, it's recreationalized and it's basically a sport now.
Yeah, you got that right. It's a sport. But we kind of got a little bit off a topic with this discussion.
Yeah, man. Yeah, bro. Hey, but that's how it is, man. Whenever you have minds that analyze stuff, man, and really trying to find some answers to stuff. But to get back to the topic where we're talking about the militarization of the police force. Yeah, a lot of times when I was downrange, man, a lot of that stuff that we was using over there, I see all of these SWAT teams out here with the stuff, every single piece of gear, and all of the maneuvers and tactics that we were using when we went in to clear houses, when we went in to do raids. All of those guys who was over there claiming to be my brother at arms, whenever they got back here, they had absolutely no problem gunning down somebody who looked just like me. And
It,
that
it,
bothers me, man, because it makes me wonder if it came down to it over there, would they have really off me? Which I know in my mind, I'm not naive. I know they would have, man. But just to have that person to lie like that to your face, man, and then come back and show you the total opposite, it really opens up your eyes to the world, man, that we living in.
let me take you back quite a few decades. I'm 59 years old, brother,
Okay.
and I'm gonna go back to fifth grade, which is a way, way back. And I remember a discussion that we had in fifth grade. As part of our, social analysis education, and the topic came up about martial law and would American soldiers fire on American citizens. And
Mm,
back then, I couldn't fathom it. But today, they do it and go home and sleep good at night.
yeah, yeah,
All we
it's,
need to do is just go back into recent history and look at Ferguson, where the police and the National Guard that were deployed to control that uprising there considered the citizenry the enemy.
yep, yep. And now anybody in the United States who is in a gang, they consider them a terrorist, a domestic terrorist, and they are on the terrorist list and they fall under a whole different set of rules.
And anybody can hit that list, and you don't have to be a violent person. Just your thought process on social media can land you on that list and get you that label.
And the rules of engagement for you are totally different than the normal US citizen too.
Oh
That's
yeah, everything's on the wheel, brother. And I know right now it's happened to the black community quite often. But if you go back in history, they didn't give Bonnie and Clyde a chance. They didn't give Dillinger a chance. That's how they're gonna start treating everybody eventually.
wow. Wow.
Think about that.
Wow, I don't even want to think about that, but I have to. Man, that's a scary thought, man. And we definitely see in the beginning of that now. They not asking no questions, and like I said, I was making a comparison to their actions when we was overseas raiding houses. That was how a lot of them guys was. Now a lot of us who came up in bad environments, we was over there comparing, hey man, this remind me of so and so and so and so. So we did have that fear of knowing that these people was gunning for us, but at the same time, we didn't have the same type of fear as that boy who came from the nice neighborhood, the Buckhead neighborhood, you know what I'm saying? And now he's over here in this environment and he's got culture shock. He's going in, he not asking no questions, he not trying to to figure out anything. He's shooting first. And this
Exactly.
is the same exact spirit, man, that is in these guys who came from over there back here. And I'm not saying that all of these cops are that, because not all cops have deployed, but I'm saying that level of fear and that level of feeling like you have to exterminate the threat first and then clear everything, then figure everything else out later, man. That whole mindset is also got passed down to the police department with the gear and the M raps and all of that stuff.
Well, as I see it, when you come from the hood where you get that violent environment, you watch how people move. and you know when something's about to kick off just by the way somebody acting. If you grow up around that, and when you come from
Man.
the suburbs, you don't grow up around that.
Yep, yep. You hit the nail right on the head, man, because that's I remember when I was in this club, man, and I was in Washington State. I ain't never been there before in my life. I'm up there with some of my military buddies, and you see in the middle of the dance floor, everybody getting hyped up, and then there's certain movements that we make and hand gestures that we make as a people that's universal, and you know what I mean. So I just slowly find myself sliding towards the door. By the time I get out to my car, I hear the shots. You know what I'm saying? So I know 100%, bro. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Because you know it's coming.
Yeah, yeah. But man, when we got down range, man, a lot of them guys who were so afraid, man, they never took the time to ask any questions. And I'm not saying any names or pointing any fingers. I'm just saying these are things that take place out of fear and just ignorance. Because you
Fear,
know,
ignorance, and the fact that the Dred Scott case was never overturned.
yep, wow, wow,
That is a fact. And if you think about it, they claim the 14th Amendment made us citizens, right? If
yeah,
citizens of this country, why do we need a 1964 Civil Rights Act? Why do we need a Voting Rights Act that's renewed every 25 years?
exactly, yeah. This is what gives a lot of people that false sense of security that I was talking about earlier, man. They love to sell us this false sense of security, and most people fall for it because they feel like they're not gonna get anything else, and they settle for it.
You made a statement in your previous video, the one that prompted this one, that I'd like to ask you about.
Okay.
And you were talking about getting rid of the Constitution and creating a new one.
Yeah.
Is there anything about the current Constitution that you keep?
Oh, I really don't think so. I really don't think that there's anything from the original Constitution that I would keep. No.
I mean, because they managed to circumvent amendments to the Constitution and the Bill of Rights one way or another. Good morning, Cynthia Hoggett. Um,
Good morning.
with I would like to see some of the Bill of Rights kept illegal. Like the illegal search and seizures and the Fifth Amendment, the First Amendment, Second Amendment. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I do think we need to keep some of it. But yeah, a lot of it, we got to understand it. I agree with you. It should be redone because it was founded in hypocrisy to start with.
Yes. Yes.
So
And I feel like each primary, and we know who the primary ethnic groups in the United States are, and everybody should have a say in this. Everybody should have a representation in that, and it's a contract. Just like the last one was a contract between the people and the government, and we should go about it in that sense. And I think it would cover everything that we would be concerned about losing from the old one. I think all of those things would be covered in this new one.
yeah, I would. Yeah, I'd like to see some changes myself, particularly in the field of politics,
Yeah.
because that's where the foundation of all our problems lie. Politically,
Yep. Yep.
we
And
need
the
to keep
thing
it.
that bothers me with them is they'll use the Constitution when it's convenient, but then they'll use those amendments and loopholes whenever it's inconvenient.
Well, let me give you an analogy. If you have cancer and your cancer is operable, do you want the surgeon to go in there and take out all of the cancer or just 80% of it?
Yeah, yeah, I got you.
Because you see, the way the Constitution is set up, if we feel our politicians are a cancer to us, we can clean out the House of Representatives completely, 100%, every 2 years. 2 years later, we can clean out the entire House of Representatives and the White House. But we can only take out 1/3 of the Senate at a time. So that cancer remains in place. You feel me? I think you lost your audio, brother.
Uh, am I here? You hear me? Okay. Yeah, go ahead, bro.
I was just saying we can only remove 1/3 of the Senate every election cycle. Only 1/3 of the Senate, and the Senate is where the cancer is. We can't clean out the entire Senate at one time. We got problems.
That's so true. That is so true. So I think we have just some hard decisions to make as a country, and who's gonna be brave enough to get that ball rolling? Because we can talk about it on our levels, but anything actually getting done to that magnitude on the level of Senate and Congress and stuff like that, who would have the balls to try to get something like that rolling? I feel like that person would probably be killed, because the last person that I seen who really spoke about true bipartisan policy, he got snuffed for the Democratic candidacy, and they stuck Joe Biden in there, and that was Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders was the closest thing that the Democratic Party would ever think to getting somebody to try to do the right thing by this country. And they snuff Bernie because they know by him taking a stand and really wanting to do right by the country in certain areas that it would disrupt a lot of their uh, backdoor revenues and deals and stuff going on. So at the last minute, they brought old reliable Joe in, and they got what they want. But now they're sitting here and they're complaining about Joe, but they're the ones who put him in there when they really had a better option.
Well, you got to look at where Bernie comes from, and you'll see why he failed. You cannot run around your entire political career and call yourself an independent and then align yourself with a particular party just to make the White House.
That's the only way you can do it in this country. If you're not either or, then you're not even going to get the support necessary to even
But
really make a decent run. That's how they got it set up.
that's our fault.
Yeah,
That's our fault. If
yeah,
if if the voting populace in this country would demand representation of other parties, independent, Green Party, Liberal Party, you know, so that you get 4 or 5 candidates up there giving you their perspective, we'd be better off.
yeah. Because
We,
Donald Trump wasn't no Republican. Donald
no, he
Trump
wasn't.
didn't become a Republican until he knew that that was going to be the party that would get him where he wanted to be. But Donald Trump wasn't never Republican either. So a lot of these guys will jump on the bandwagon of either or because they understand that's the only way that they're going to get the backing to even make a decent run. So when you are independent and grassroots and all of these other guys, you know, we like the concept, but we don't really put the power behind it to make it a true force.
No, we don't. But if it's, if 10 or 15% of the voting population put their vote somewhere else, Green Party, Libertarian Party, whatever, you'd see a change. It'd be all over national news. What the hell happened? They would tell us, the news media would tell us we acted like children and threw a temper tantrum because that's how they always berate us.
Yeah, yeah.
When yeah, I mean, when the news media favorite doesn't get elected, that's what happens. We threw a temper tantrum.
So what I gather from all of this is until the two-party system has something done about it, then we're going to continue to go through this same cycle.
Exactly, because they call it the body politic, right?
Yeah,
if you look at the American eagle as a body politic, that bird does not fly without the left wing and the right wing.
Yep. Yep. Two wings on the same bird.
Two wings on the same bird of prey, because that's what the eagle is, a bird of prey.
Yep, different sides of the same coin, man. I say that all the time. I got friends that are Republican, friends that are Democrat and independent, but I always tell them, when y'all talk about them wings, bro, they on the same that's two sides of the same coin, man. They have different approaches, but their ultimate goal is the same.
Yeah, keep us all in line.
That's it, man. That's it. Well, bro, I'm getting ready to get up out here, man. I got a couple things I need to run around and do, man. But I'm glad I had the opportunity to open this up, man, so we could talk about this and I can hear your perspective because you definitely have some foresight into a lot of things. And I'm glad I was able to get it set up, man. So I appreciate you for coming through.
Yeah, it's a pleasure, man. My pleasure. I like what you're doing over here. I told you that, man. And it's a good conversation. So whenever we can get together, let's do it.
Absolutely, man. Just let me know when you're available and we'll make it happen, bro.
All right. Now, I usually do my Sunday morning thing. Talk
Yeah, for
about,
sure, for sure.
you
But
know.
yeah, we'll work it out. We'll work it out, man. But yeah, I appreciate you, my brother, and you have a blessed day, man.
All right. You too, my brother. Thank you for having me.
For sure. All right, everybody. Hey, sister, Clean Black Sneaks, I thank you for coming through. Cynthia, I thank you for coming through and listening, and everybody else who gets an opportunity to check this out, man. I really enjoyed this conversation with my brother, and I really love being fed the knowledge and the different perspective on things because now he gonna have me going in here and I'm gonna start pulling stuff up and getting into my research bag even more so. This is why I appreciate this type of interaction, man. So I thank y'all for coming through. I thank you for the support. And this is your boy D Mac, man. Y'all know what I say. Sticks and stones can break your bones, but the word can always heal you. I'm out.